My name is Francine Peterson. I'm the principal bassoonist of the Lake Washington Symphony Orchestra. I have been playing the bassoon since I was in high school, and the reason why I picked the bassoon was my mother, who was a pianist, said you're going to have, and I also was a pianist, and she said you should learn another instrument, an instrument that is not as common, because you'll always be wanted. Well, I wanted to play the flute, and she said everybody plays the flute. So she took me to San Francisco Symphony and to watch a concert, and she pointed down, she says, that is the bassoon down there, and one of these days I hope you'll be studying with that person. Well, it was the bassoon. And I did end up studying with my first teacher. The bassoon is made up of 4 pieces put together. In length, the bassoon is about 4.5 feet tall. So we have this crooked piece of metal, which is our mouthpiece, and it's called a bocal, B-O-C-A-L. And at the end of that bocal, we have a double reed, which is 2 pieces of cane that is put together and they vibrate. So it sounds like this. Now, once we put it onto the bocal, we get a nice rich sound. The bassoon is the base of all of the woodwinds. What I love about the bassoon is the sound, but also how diverse it is because of the range of the bassoon. We have a range of 3.5 octaves, so we can play a huge amount of different types of music. So our lowest note is low B flat, which on the piano it's below the bass clef staff, and our highest note goes up to a high E flat, which is the top space of the treble clef. But our music we read in bass clef. So I'm going to start off by playing a chromatic scale for you. That time I went up to a high E. So as you can see, it's a huge range. And because of that, we can, maybe you might recognize this. Now that is from the ride at Disneyland, Peter Pan ride. And a long time ago when we took our kids to Disneyland and we were in line for Peter Pan, like it seemed like an hour. And that's all they played. And it's the crocodile song. Now what I want to do next is I want to take the bassoon apart and put it back together so that you know what we are going to be dealing with. The other thing that makes the bassoon also very nice is we don't get hand injuries like other instruments do, because the bassoon is a balancing instrument. I balance it between my first and second knuckle here, and down here it just rests against my leg. And that is because I sit on a seat strap, which I hook onto the bassoon and I balance it. It's not played like this, it's played so I can see the music stand that way. So I'm going to take the bassoon apart. First thing is the reed. Next thing, and this is my case, is the bocal. Get rid of the spit. Put it in there. And then what I do is I put the bassoon between my legs and I start with the bell. The bell, you don't have to swab or get the spit out. The next section is the long joint, which you don't have to swab. After that, the next joint is the wing joint. And then after that is the boot joint. The boot joint and the wing joint is what we have to swab to get the spit out. And what swabbing is, you guys, is taking the spit out. And you want to do that because if the spit builds up, you could get wood rot. So the wing joint does need to be swabbed, okay? So I have a swab here. I turn it upside down, put that in, and I pull it through, and then I hold it up to the light to see if there's any water streaks. And there are no water streaks. Now, the boot joint, the bottom joint, is a little bit more complicated, but it's kind of fun. It's like magic. And what I do with the boot joint, there's 2 holes, and I have my swab. So I put the end of the swab into the big hole, and I drop it all the way to the bottom, like if you're ice fishing. Then what I do is I turn it on its side, and then I shake it, because down here on the bassoon, I can't show you, but there's a U-tube. So I shake it, and as I'm shaking it, I'm feeding it through, and voila, it comes out on the other side. I'll do that again. On the side, shake it. Pull it through. Magic. And again, that takes what, less than 20 seconds to do that. And another thing on the bassoon, everybody always leaves the seat strap on the chair. So you always want to remember that there's a seat strap, or else you're going to leave it someplace. And that's why I own something like 5 seat straps. I'm almost neurotic about it, because I've left my seat straps in like Meany Hall at University of Washington. And thank goodness the Good Samaritan saw it and picked it up for me. But I have learned my lesson. But it all lays very uniformly in the case. So you put it together from the back to the front. You disassemble it from the front to the back, which is quite convenient. And then the seat strap is like this. So you go with the boot joint, and it has 2 holes in it. So I put the wing joint in next. You just go right in order. And then I go to the long joint. Push it down. And then I go to the bell. So as you can see, it takes less than 20 seconds to put it together. As most mothers are correct, I had wonderful, wonderful opportunities in playing the bassoon. At first I was not good at all, but I was the only bassoonist in band. So I was always asked to play. I moved up quickly through the ranks to the top band. And I still felt that I wasn't that good, but they wanted the bassoon sound in the band. I don't know if I would have had that opportunity if I had played the flute, because there are so many flute players and good flute players. I have had a very diverse career. I am a freelancer. I am a teacher of the bassoon. I teach at 2 universities, the Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma and the University of Puget Sound in Tacoma. I am also a freelancer where sometimes if they need extra bassoon players, I get to play with Seattle Symphony or Seattle Opera. Many church groups. So I do an awful lot of playing. As far as teaching, I have an awful lot of students, and I go around to schools, certain schools, and I start kids on the bassoon. So what I want to play for you next is a piece of music that you might recognize. And I'll get my stand. So you put the music stand directly in front of you. You don't play the bassoon up like this. You go across. So you can see the music and also just balance the instrument. What I'm going to play for you now is it's The Sorcerer's Apprentice, and it was used in a Disney movie with Mickey Mouse as the apprentice to the sorcerer. And it's a very, very famous bassoon line, and it gives you an idea of the diversity of the instrument. I took a little bit of time at the end so you could just go for the low notes, okay? We do play the melody on the bassoon, and we also do play the supporting cast, the bass line. One other thing, I want to show you the high range of the bassoon. And you'll recognize that as Hedwig's theme from Harry Potter. So that just shows you in one instrument you can go from extremely high to extremely low. And because of that, conductors, orchestras always need bassoon players. And I have been very, very fortunate in my life that I can say I make a living from playing the bassoon and from teaching. I hope you have enjoyed this. The bassoon is a beautiful instrument, and I highly suggest that you learn the bassoon because you will get opportunities that you won't get on other instruments because there are so many players. There's fewer of us around. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this.